Greetings, class 002. First, I want to congratulate all of you for the accomplishment of finishing the academy at Western Dakota Tech. When we first met, there were twice as many of you that indicated a desire to become a law enforcement officer. Each of you have demonstrated the value of commitment to both the criminal justice industry and your personal goals. Next, I want to acknowledge your adaptability. The COVID pandemic created a situation which tested your adaptability. It was a lesson greater than any in the curriculum, and that each of you were successful gives me confidence in your ability to be successful in challenging situations over your career. Lastly, I want to address the current challenge to law enforcement nationally. The demand for police reform and vilifying police officers has created a challenge to law enforcement on a greater scale than we have seen in our lifetimes. It is a storm that will be weathered. There's an old saying that calm seas don't make good sailors. Translated, that means at the end of this, we'll all be better. And there is no greater generation to weather this storm than yours. Your generation is the most talented in the history of the world. You will solve problems that my generation believes are unsolvable. You are the greatest generation in technology and tolerance, which gives me hope for a bright future of technology and, more important, civility. In advance, I thank you. Class 002, I wish you well, and I am proud of your accomplishments.
Well, greetings, class of 2020. As you know, my name is Diaz, and I want to welcome you to this momentous occasion. It is my privilege to congratulate you personally. Congratulate also mom and dad and family members that may be listening in, tuning in today. On behalf of all of the staff and faculty of WDT, as well as the officers and command staff of the Rapid City Police Department, we salute you today on this very momentous and important occasion. You have worked hard and you have sacrificed much. And my hope today is that in some way you can kind of kick back and relax and revel in your sense of accomplishment. You have triumphed in these achievements today, and we're going to be celebrating that, no doubt. Without a doubt, you're entering a challenging time in your law enforcement career. In fact, I can't remember a day that was more challenging and more complex to our profession than the day that we find ourselves in. And because of that, it's going to take the very best. It's going to take the very best individual. It's going to take the best character. It's going to take the best effort on your part to navigate a successful and long career. And I want you to be successful. I want each and every one of you to be able to hold your head high during your career. I want you at the end of your career to go out the front door of the respective agency that you may join. And as you rise to that challenge, in order to help you become successful in this regard, I want to remind you about three very important facets to law enforcement. Three fundamental aspects, if you will, that I believe are critical to a successful long career, a career of integrity in public service. I'm going to give you the first one here. And as you're embarking on this new career, you must understand first and foremost that you are embarking upon a noble work. It is a noble work. It is a work of nobility, you could say. Law enforcement is more than just a good work. It's more than just a positive work. It is an honorable work. It is a virtuous work. It is a work of principle. It is a work of nobility. Now, to be sure, there may be days where it doesn't always feel like it's such a noble work. In fact, there will be days where the public may not appreciate the nobility of this work. You may yourselves even call into question the question, does this work matter? Am I making a difference? And you must always and ever answer that question with a resounding yes. It does matter. And yes, you are making a difference. You have joined a profession which is good and just and right, and a profession which promotes peace. And therefore it's an excellent work, and it's an honorable work. And it is something that we must not forget. But can I also give you a second today that not only is the work which you're embarking upon a noble work, but it is in fact a necessary work. It's a work of necessity. We know that when we remove the rule of law from any society, chaos ensues, does it not? Anarchy rules. Reckless mobs begin to dictate what is right and wrong instead of the established virtues of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for all. This is a necessary work, and often it is merely the courage of one law-abiding police officer or one law-abiding deputy or trooper, wherever you may find yourself, who understands the necessity of his or her work and understands that that is really a glue, a societal glue, as it were, which helps keep all things together. Your work that you're embarking upon is noble and it is necessary. But I want to give you a third one today that I really want you to think about, that you may miss if you're not careful. Not only is law enforcement a noble calling, not only is it necessary to the fabric of society, but thirdly, the work of law enforcement is indeed a work of compassion. It is a work of compassion. You may not think this initially. This may not be your initial reason for getting into this line of work, but you must understand that law enforcement is a work of compassion. Those entering this profession must be people who care about people, who care about others. Those who enter law enforcement must be people of compassion and of concern and of consideration. They must be people who understand sympathy and who understand empathy and who understand kindness. Now, we need to know that this line of work is not all about the tough guy routine. It really isn't. Although it will be one of the toughest jobs you will ever have. And the fact is that it will require the toughest of minds and the toughest of bodies and the toughest of character. But it doesn't mean you're a tough guy or a tough gal. Because if you take on this career without that important element of compassion, you have lost the race before you've even started. Because the true reality is that sometimes we have to think for those who can't always think for themselves and who find themselves in great difficulty. And we have to care for those who cannot always care for themselves or who choose not to care for themselves. We have to help those who do not want help sometimes and choose not to help themselves and perhaps even choose to harm other people, and we must intervene at that level. See, without compassion, you take what would otherwise be the nobility and the necessity of this work, and you remove compassion from it, and you turn yourself into a RoboCop or a Judge Dredd, if you will, or a Terminator operating outside of the boundaries of what your true calling is to be. But you add that important note of compassion to this calling, and that corrects the course and guides you to success with integrity. And so, class of 2020, it is an honor to address you today. You are embarking on this noble, necessary work of compassion is what it really is. And ladies and gentlemen, no doubt this is a tall order, is it not? And it requires only the best. And it requires only the brightest. And only those who are ready to take on this challenge. And I believe from what I know of you all, the class of 2020 is up for the challenge. My parting words to you this day is to honor that badge. Honor that badge. Don't tarnish it. Don't mar it. Don't corrupt it. And by honoring that badge, you will be honoring the profession. And by honoring that profession, you will be honoring your fellow man, whom you and I have both been called to protect and to serve. And so now to the class of 2020, I sign off wishing you Godspeed and wishing his greatest blessing upon you, and that he would keep each and every one of you safe and sound on your respective journeys. This is Lieutenant Diaz, out.
My classmates, we are all tired, broken down, and ready to move on to the next thing in our lives. But I encourage you to take a moment and consider what we have just done. When we started the Law Enforcement Academy back in January, we all knew that it was going to push our physical and mental limits. We all knew that this program wasn't for everyone, a fact driven home when we lost 2 of our classmates early on in the program, but the rest of us stuck with it. We supported one another through the early mornings and rigorous PT sessions, through the intense DT training and complex legal studies. As we grew in knowledge, strength, and friendship, we felt invincible, like we were ready to tackle any challenge that came. But no one could have seen what was on the horizon. When the threat of COVID-19 rose, our program was far from the only one that was affected, but our program was especially tricky because of the nature of our training. Driving tactics can't be taught online. Shooting can't be learned from emails, and defensive tactics can't be acquired over the phone. At some point, I wasn't sure if I was going to be graduating this year at all, and I know I wasn't alone. The stresses of the quarantine turned out to be too much for another classmate, lowering our number by one more, but the rest of us stood strong. We came together, got through the quarantine, and returned to our program on June 1st under the leadership of our steadfast instructors, who worked tirelessly to ensure that we would finish our program. Today, we stand proudly, 3 breakneck-paced weeks behind us, our education's complete. I wish that I could say that our burden will ease now, that the hard part is behind us, but that would be a lie. And in law enforcement, if you lie, you die. We are entering this industry in a time when hatred and mistrust of law enforcement is high, very high. In a time where the actions of someone on the other side of the country, broadcast across the internet, become your problem in your city and turn the population that you serve against you. I'd be lying again if I said that what is happening right now, the riots, the hate, don't make me nervous to put on a badge. But when I think of you all, my classmates, I find hope. Knowing that when it comes down to it, you will have my back gives me the strength to take my place in that thin blue line and have your back in return. I don't think it's a coincidence that 13 of us remain. Some would call us the cursed 13, the unlucky 13, but I say no. Just as we weathered the COVID quarantine, we will weather the storms that come together. We are not the cursed 13 because united, we're unstoppable. We are not the unlucky 13 because we have made our own luck. Ladies and gentlemen, hold your heads high because we are the mighty, the proud 13 graduates of Western Dakota Tech Law Enforcement Academy, Class 002.
Congratulations, Law Enforcement Academy students. I am so excited to be here today to celebrate with you your outstanding accomplishments in our criminal justice and law enforcement program at Western Dakota Tech. I recently read an article about the optimism of people today about a better future for race relations in the United States. Race relations has been an issue for the United States since its founding. One of my friends wrote a commentary on this article where she voiced her own sense of hopelessness about race relations improving. It is very easy for many of us, older folks, to get frustrated with the slow change in our society. However, because I am aware of our law enforcement training program students' experiences and the work that you have done in the Law Enforcement Academy, I am very optimistic about the future for race relations as well as the future for law enforcement having a fabulous reputation among people in our community. Your training has been solid. You have worked hard with each other. You have worked hard so that you can go out and help keep our society and our community safer, and I am very proud of you all for doing that. I have every confidence that you will combine your training and your optimism to improve community safety throughout the region. I'm also very proud of your instructors. They have some very high standards that you have lived up to and surpassed. They are the best of the best in our law enforcement community, and I am honored that they participate in Western Dakota Tech's law enforcement program and put so much of themselves into the training that you have received. Thank you for choosing this critical field at this difficult time in law enforcement history in the U.S. My heartiest congratulations to you all and best wishes to you all for a successful future in law enforcement.